Is there anything I regret writing? That's an interesting question that somebody asked me, or actually somebody I just made up asked me because I wanted to make a video about it. Stay tuned. Hi, it's me. I'm here to make a quick video about that question that I made somebody up to ask me because I thought it was kind of interesting, which is there anything I regret writing? And a lot of people might think that's a weird question. What do you mean by that? But I will say I've had quite a long career in getting things published, and therefore there's a lot of me out there, and I think there are times when I compromised my integrity in what I wrote about, and so yeah, I wanted to talk about those. But I will say this, for the most part, you know, I consider myself a good person, and I think of myself as a person with the capacity to change and grow and get new ideas, and I have a lot of empathy and compassion, so therefore I don't really think of myself as a troublesome individual. And secondly, I don't have a lot of shame when it comes to the stuff I've written, and that's because, you know, writing is writing. Words are words. If you write something and it connects with somebody, even in the most, you know, banal way, that does mean something. And in terms of my literary career, I'll tell you, the first check I ever got for writing, it was for $25, and it was from Hustler Fantasies magazine, signed by Larry Flynt, who is a man who has stood very, very powerfully for the First Amendment, whether you agree with him or not. He literally lost the ability to walk because of that. Anyway, yeah, my first published article for which I got paid was a dirty story that was published in Hustler Fantasies magazine, and I still have a copy of that magazine with that story in it, sent all the way from California. And I think I just graduated university, and I was living in my parents' gîte on their place in France, and it was like a gilded cage. I was feeling completely useless, and to get this check for $25 that somebody had paid me for something I had written was, it was amazing. And maybe it doomed me for the rest of my life, because then I was like, oh, you know what? I'm a good enough writer that people will pay me. So when I moved to America full-time in 2007, I've been back and forth before then, I got a job with SiriusXM Radio, which was fantastic. I made a lot of friends there, but I also just wanted to continue this writing career. I mean, I was in America. This was like one of those old movies where the guy gets off the boat and he's like, I'm in America, the land of dreams. I don't know why he's Italian, that's kind of offensive, I apologise. But yeah, I wanted to make it here, because if you can make it in America, you can make it anywhere. Frank Sinatra is one of my heroes. And he's a troublesome individual, not going to lie. Anyway, yeah, I wanted to be a writer. So I went around and I tried to write for everything that would have me in print. I wrote a bunch of articles for Renaissance Fair magazine, which was cool. It's a magazine all about Renaissance fairs, and I wrote a lot of articles about like history and playwriting and stuff like that, and you didn't get paid very much, but it was amazing. Got a stack of these magazines in there. I was head writer for a magazine called Jacques. It was like a classy Playboy thing, and it was this husband and wife team, but the wife, Danielle, she was the brains behind the operation, and she gave me the opportunity to write huge long form articles, work with other writers, put things together into this magazine. It only ran for like 12 issues, and I have most of them saved upstairs, but that was an amazing experience. Yeah, tell you what, Danielle, if you ever watch this, you will have no idea how grateful I was for getting the opportunity to do that. And yeah, I also like blogged and did everything I could to try and earn money online. And this was back in, by this time it was like 2010, so this is the days of Blogger, if you remember that. And of course, being kind of like the sexually liberated dude that I was, being a published writer on Hustler Fantasies, when there were opportunities to write adult content, I jumped at them. I mean, why not? There was a magazine, an online magazine called Sex Herald, and they had offices, in Midtown New York. So it's such a ropey organization, and I used to review pornographic DVDs for them. It was wild though, and I've got somebody, I'm not really very close with her, but somebody called Erin, who's our editor there, and who I've got a lot of respect for, and it's like I'm still in touch with her from time to time, so it was kind of cool, the friendships you make and the experiences you have. I also applied for a job as a writer at a sex toy company. So it was a sex toy company. Basically, they ran a website, and it was an e-commerce website. And in order to get all that SEO juice, because this is 2010, it's back when Google ruled the earth, they would have an online magazine. And I got the opportunity to write articles for them. And the really interesting thing was, in 2010, in the blogosphere and stuff like that, especially in terms of like the sex blogging community, I was completely toxic because I was a white cisgender guy, and I consider myself a very liberal progressive person. But even though I was a liberal progressive person, it was kind of like obvious that I wasn't welcome there. And the interesting thing was, because I wasn't welcome there, even if I wrote stuff that it was pretty difficult to not to be on the same side, it was like repeating the same thing other bloggers in this community would do. Just the fact that who I was meant I got a lot of negative attention. But the thing is about negative attention is it's clicks, isn't it? It's comments, it's engagement, and that's SEO juice, and that boosts sales and things. So I ended up being quite successful as a writer, and I ended up getting offered the opportunity to write a column called Devil's Advocate. And I can completely take responsibility for the concept of this, because this was, back in 2010 or something like that. I was in my early 30s, and I was kind of like, oh yeah, I'm shit on this internet thing, aren't I? So I was like, yeah, we'll talk about issues and I'll play devil's advocate. And in some ways, that was like just the entire concept of that is kind of like a toxic thing. I knew that I got negative attention, and then if I discussed issues that were the hot button issues, like abortion or something like that, I would get a lot of people talking, leaving negative comments and things, and trying to engage me about these articles, even if what I was saying was, what the sex positive correct viewpoint was. The fact that I was a man saying it. We literally had comments where people were like, I know you said this, but I read it as you meaning the opposite. I mean, I got so much projection on me that, I would just generate huge amounts of traffic. And I wrote these articles kind of like with a Joe Rogan style approach. And I'm sure Joe Rogan has no idea who I am, but he stole it from me. And what I mean by that is, like, you say stuff that is entirely 100% sensible and rational, and no human being can really argue with, and yet you say it in the absence of contextual empathy. What I mean by that is, like, Joe Rogan, he speaks about in it the mixed martial arts having transgender fighters, and he says, he supports people being trans, but it's not really fair when a male to female transgender person fights against a cisgender female fighter, because they have like a physical advantage. And it's kind of like, well, you're not wrong, but there's more to it than that. There are things you need to discuss beyond that. And yeah, I took that approach. It was an approach, I think, because we're talking about controversial issues, and yeah, I didn't want to sacrifice my integrity, but also I was a bit of a wanker, and I enjoyed the intellectual exercise of arguing with people. And I don't think there's anything particularly controversial or offensive in the articles I wrote, but there was one that kind of like stopped me going down this route, because I don't think this was a good route to be going down as a writer. I was writing stuff to get people irritated. I was writing stuff to generate clicks. I was basically like being one of those wankers on Fox News who just talk stuff to either annoy people or fire up the crowd. And yeah, I don't think it was a good path to be going down, but I stopped going down that path when there was an article I wrote about the question of, because it was really big in the news at that particular point in time, should transsexual people be allowed to change the sex on their birth certificate? And I wrote an article in which I was like, yeah, as I said, the Joe Rogan type asshole who is like, well, obviously we 100% support people in whatever sexuality or whichever sex they feel that they should be living as. However, a birth certificate is a historical document and you were born this sex, so therefore it doesn't serve any function to change it. And it was kind of like, it was an intellectual exercise in why it was not a good thing. And it fired up exactly as anticipated, a huge amount of negative reaction from the community, lots of clicks, lots of traffic. The website shot up in rankings. And there were tons of comments from people saying like, oh my god, I can't believe you're publishing it, blah, blah, blah. And then somebody left a comment, and it was a woman who used to be a man. So the only person who was trans who left a comment saying like, their only comment was, it really doesn't matter to me because what it says in my birth certificate isn't the same as who I feel I am now. And I think they said something like, thank you for the article or something. And it was really interesting because it was like the only reasonable person who'd weighed in on this was somebody who was actually trans. All of the people who'd been leaving the negative comments were like the kind of female sex blogging community. I don't know, it was the same old crowd. And there was me, the wanker, who posted the article in the first place. And the only person who left a reasonable comment was somebody who was trans, who were also the only person to whom the article actually fucking mattered. Excuse my French. And I remember when I saw that comment, I stopped and I was like, holy shit. Oh well, I wrote this article, you know, an intellectual esoteric exercise about whether trans people should be allowed to change the sex on their birth certificate. And I've got no skin in the game when it comes there. It means absolutely nothing to me, one way or another. It's just an intellectual exercise. But there's this person who left that comment. And that actually does mean something to them. Yeah, that actually does mean something to them. And this person wasn't particularly bothered by it. But maybe there were people out there facing that same question who were bothered by it. And maybe me talking about it in this, harmless, esoteric, intellectual exercise way wasn't really helping them in any way. And in terms of the intellectual argument, my opinion doesn't matter. My opinion doesn't matter, because literally if somebody wants to change the sex on their birth certificate, somebody I've never met out there, how does that impact me in any way? So why should I have a say in it? What fucking business is it of mine? That's their life. And as a human being, can you imagine just... I mean, it's the same with anybody, whatever your position are. If there's a choice that you make in your life, and there is a group out there of strangers saying that there's something wrong with it, or trying to literally deny you from doing what you want to, it's probably pretty hurtful, and it lacks empathy. That's the thing. I remember when I saw that comment, and it made me stop and think for a bit. I was like, wow, I see things from their perspective now. And even though they left a nice and entirely reasonable comment for that, it made me think, I'm an asshole. Like, I shouldn't be writing articles like this. What am I doing? Why am I pontificating about issues which affect me in no way whatsoever? People's lives are affected by these issues. And me talking about them in this way stops them from being able to have a positive solution to that. And I'm just doing it as an intellectual exercise. That makes me a wanker. And that was pretty much the end of me writing articles for that website. And I don't criticize the website in a way. There's an awful lot of controversy about that website and things they might have done or not done. I will say the owner was always extremely nice to me, and I have absolutely nothing bad I can say directly, but I don't know, but it made me think. And since then, I've gone on and I tried to make sure that my writing career is a career in which everything that I attach my name to, I can defend. And interestingly enough, when this Devil's Advocate article, this column, originated, the owner said to me, do you want to write under a pen name or pseudonym and be anonymous? And I said, no, I don't. I want to write under my own name. And I don't know why I said that. It was probably a stupid decision. But I think deep down in my heart of hearts, I was like, if you can't put your own name to something, you shouldn't write it. You know, if you want to write something, and I mean, yeah, if you want to write your opinion, but you are worried about the negative impact that it would have, then maybe you shouldn't write your opinion. And certainly there are exceptions to that rule, you know, when you're actually, you know, in fear of your life or in fear of your job or something. But I've always tried, especially since then, and that was really the start of me doing that, to try and live with integrity and stand by everything I write. And when it comes to articles that I've written, I don't even go back and read them anymore. It was years since I read them. And, you know, sometimes you go back and it's like it was written by a stranger. But I would certainly say that the opinions I might have had then are different to the opinions that I have now. And if anybody comes at me wanting to cancel me for that, all I can say is, like, the fact that I wrote those things and it put it into context to get other people's comments and viewpoints and start me on a journey to think about that differently and come to a conclusion and a mindset that you might think is more favourable. In that case, it was good that it was written. What I've written, good or bad, is a legacy. It is, it's almost like the story of me growing and evolving as a writer and as a human being. So, yeah, let it stay there. Let it stay there, and if anyone has thoughts or comments about it, those are fair and come at me. Because I am, at the end of the day, not ashamed of who I am as a person or as a writer, but I still try to be better at both things every single day. Anyway, thank you very much. It was just nice to have this little talk. I'll speak to you again soon. I'm Roland Hume. I've sold 67,000 copies of my books. If you want to find out how I did it, I've got a link right here you can click. And otherwise, don't forget to subscribe. I've got more videos coming soon. Thank you.